morning, everybody. Are you a habitual nightmare to your own self? Tonight, Michael, Dale Campbell, and I are going to be talking about how your habits form who you are and how you can, there's processes that allow you to actually change the habit of who you are. Who we are on the ground is just a collection of what we do every day, day in and day out. And have you ever found, Michael, that the habits that you are have caused you problems in the past?
well, well, I'm going to assume you know the answer to that. But yeah, really, true. To be honest, I could go back. I want to say maybe 15 years. I thought I was really, really healthy. I was having, even when I traveled a lot, flying on a plane pretty much every single week of the year, I was buying juices. I was buying orange juice, and on a Sunday afternoon, especially in the summer when I was working in the backyard and, doing the grass and the weeds and the garden and everything, I would have as much as a gallon of orange juice in a day. On top of
Wow.
that, yes, I mean, it's being super
Yeah.
healthy, right? I mean, claiming to be healthy, and
It's fruit after all.
yeah, it's fruit, right? And of course, one of my friends later on, when I was going through diabetes, informed me that when we have the juice of the orange, we're getting as much as 7 to 10 times more sugar than if we actually eat the fruit directly, from the whatever that's called, the just slicing the orange and eating it with the fiber and everything. And can you imagine that little habit, plus some other things I was doing, like donuts every once in a while, but they were organic things, right? There were things that I could buy in this health food store that said organic. So these were donuts, yes, but they were organic. And so I thought I was super healthy with that too.
And can you share your story of when you went to the doctor?
I sure can, because I was so cocky with the doctor. I went in and really I made the appointment with this in mind. I'm going to go in so the doctor can tell me how healthy I am. And I was there for a few minutes, and he did all the draws, the blood draw, the urine, the everything. And it was the next day or two that he called me back, and he was livid. He was upset because I hadn't been to see him for 5 years, thinking that I was super healthy. And he said, you know what? You have diabetes and you're about ready for a heart attack. Your A1C is 12.1. And you better get in here and get the medication. And well, I went to his office. I got the report. He gave me the prescription, and I left his office in denial. And I went to my favorite ice cream parlor, much worse. And I had my favorite
The logical
array.
thing to do,
Yeah,
right?
right. I had my favorite array of banana split and all the flavors and toppings. And while I was sitting there, it dawned on me. While I was sitting there, my history came back into view, and I realized that my mother had taught me that if I have a cold, I can go to this little plant on the side of the road in Jamaica, and I can pick that, and I can use that to get rid of the cold in a matter of minutes. And I did that over and over several times as a child, as a teenager growing up. And even before that, my mother cured me of asthma using juniper oil drops in my orange juice. I had to hold my nose, drink it out.
Ironically.
Yeah, right. And yes, exactly, exactly right, in the orange juice. And so, yes, I mean, these habits over time caused me a problem.
Accrued into diabetes, a
Yes,
physical manifestation of
yes,
the outcome of day in and day out doing the same thing, the
yes,
same sorts of things day in and day out. And
yes.
so often do we all not, when I say we're our own nightmare, we do
Mhm.
these things, we know the outcome. You even knew the outcome when you went and had your Sunday.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
right.
the outcome. We're smart people. We understand the cause and effect of things, but we're helpless in the face of habits. And these are things
Yeah.
we've been talking in these past weeks, as we've talked about Joe Dispenza
Yes.
of that that our body becomes it acts out our habits. It becomes the wiring. You don't have to think of it. You get up in the morning on the same side of the bed. You first go to the restroom. You go in and make your coffee. You drink out of the same mug. You do the same things day in and day out. That our bodies are wired to do that, to be efficient. But
Yes.
sometimes the efficiencies take us in all the wrong directions. And so we become our own nightmare. We're helpless, it feels like, in front of those habits to do anything any different. And really, our habits make up who we are. The things that we do day in and day out accumulate into diabetes, or they accumulate into health. It's
That's so right.
just a fact, right? And we know these things. And so what I did back when I was, struggling with habits, and this all as we are building this week after week and talking, it's all different pieces and aspects of how do you step into a different life for yourself. Well, habits are where the rubber meets the road. Habits are where we get things done every day or don't get things done every day. We get on the treadmill or we don't. We eat the wrong foods. We're short with our children. We don't put away the 10% of our income into a savings account. This is where the rubber meets the road, that you don't see the outcome now, but all of a sudden you're standing in a doctor's office and he's telling you you're ready for a heart attack. And you're going, how did this happen? I have no idea.
Yeah,
Of course, you know how this happened.
of
And
course.
so one of the things we talk about, I'm always a proponent of stepping into things in small ways, because you actually can slide under the radar of your own resistance, get yourself to take action, that when you try to get yourself to take big action, I think we've all tried this, right? You go in with heroics. I am famous for this. It's like, I'm going to change everything today, everything all at once. And you could have the willpower and the strength, right? To do that for maybe, if you're lucky, 2 days, 3 days, something like that. And then it all falls apart. And what you revert to your habits. They're part of your wiring. You've reinforced these in your system so long that when push comes to shove, when things get, when you've run out of mental stamina, you revert to your habits. It's just how we're wired. And so what I did was I sat down. I love to take information and turn it into processes that I actually work on the ground. And so what I did, I had done a big study on habits and how they're formed, and the biology and all those kind of things of habits and how they're formed in us. And one of my favorite books is James Clear. Here you can see Atomic Habits. And I'm going to just give you some information about habits first, and then I'm going to walk you through a step-by-step process for how you can actually insert a new habit. Tonight, I'm not going to talk about actually eliminating habits, bad habits. I'm just going to talk about instituting a new habit. It's playing with the same pieces that I'm going to share with you to eliminate a habit. But for tonight, I'm just going to talk about instituting a habit. And so James Clear defines a habit as a behavior that is repeated often enough times to become automatic. You don't have to think about it, right? You brush your teeth in the exact same way every day, and you don't even pay attention that you do it. It's an energy kind of mental bandwidth conservation sort of mechanism in the body that we do that. And so why does this matter? As I said before, everything that we do repeatedly forms the person we are and the life that we'll have. There's consequences and outcomes that will issue from those repeated actions.
And I might add there, Renee, it's actually, yes, it's forming the person that we are, but it's like at even a cellular and molecular level.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's not just, what's going on in our brain and how we look on the
Right.
outside. It's down to the core.
Right, absolutely. And that's why it's hard to root out.
Yeah.
Our system is built to conserve. And so to then to push yourself out of that takes a tremendous amount of effort, typically, to reverse direction on what we're doing. And so in his book, he talks about the 4 steps to a habit formation. And so I'm giving you this so that you can see that these pieces are in this process that I've put together as to how to choose and to institute a new habit and where you can put it in your life. And with specificity, this isn't just wing it and I tell you, just go do it. I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. It's step by step. Like you follow a recipe, you put in the sugar, the flour, the butter, and the chocolate chips, and you bake it at 350, and you got chocolate chip cookies. It's reliable. This is a reliable process for you to institute a new habit into the life that you already have. And so the first piece of that is the cue, something that triggers your brain to initiate a behavior. So if I want to floss my teeth, I have to attach it to, well, where does it make sense? You don't do it while you're on a video call at work, right? The cue is I brush, I'm going to brush my teeth. It's right before that, or it's right after that, that you tie it to something that you already do. There's got to be some cue that tells you, oh, hey, it's time. It's time for this new behavior, so that it's not, and it can't be random. It can't be that you put it here, you put working out here, at the end of the day today, and you put it at your lunch break tomorrow, and you put the workout at the beginning of the morning today, and then it's Saturday, and you don't work out at all. The cue is the thing. You have to have something that precedes the new behavior that you want to do, that reminds your brain, because you're on autopilot. Yeah. If you don't have a cue to trigger you off, you're just go into autopilot. You get up and you do the other routines you do, and you forget that you're going to floss your teeth, or you're going to go out and run on the treadmill, right?
Right.
And so the second thing, the second part of that habit formation is that this creates a craving in you for rewards, some kind of it's the motivating force behind the action, that's a desire to have change in our internal state. We want to in some way feel better, good, productive, some positive emotion in us. We want to feel strong. We want to feel healthy. We want to feel dependable. If our habit is to show up 10 minutes early for meetings instead of 5 minutes late, any of these things, we want to have an internal change in our state to more reflect how we want our life to be. So if we want to be more patient with our kids, if you want to feel good about being a parent, you want to feel like you're a capable parent. If it's to put money away, you want to have that feeling of financial security. I'm building a future. So we're looking for that internal change in state in us, in the changes that we want to make in ourselves. It usually stems from dissatisfaction, right? We want something to be different. We want something to be improved.
That's right.
And so then the third step of that is response. That's the actual behavior, the workout, the drinking a green smoothie, walking 5,000 steps today. All of those things are the response. That's the behavior that you want to do. And then the reward is that reward satisfying teach us things. The reward is that thing, that dopamine. Here we're back to dopamine, right? It's getting that hit of, oh, I am building that financial future. I am getting healthier. I am getting leaner. I'm not going to have the heart attack. My kids are going to see that I'm a great and responsible parent. Yeah. All those kind of things that we're looking for out of our lives. And most of us have similar ones. It's for our health. It's for our family. It's for our friendships, our relationships, our health, our mental health, our physical health. We're all looking for these different things. There's areas in our lives we're not satisfied with. Correct?
That's right. Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. And so now I'm going to move over. I have here, and so I'm going to say this at the end probably again, but if anybody is interested in having this worksheet, just message me, because it's kind of a fill in the blank. I can put you on it and you can use this. And so this next column that I have in this worksheet tells you the kind of the lay of the land, what the process is that you go through that are in the next steps. And so if you're interested in seeing what this is it. It's 10 steps. And it's not 10 big steps. It's not 10 ginormous steps. It's 10 little steps that you take, because I've broken it down very specifically of how to institute a new habit into your life. And so this is just the summary of it for you. If you're interested, I can get this out to you, and you can use this for your own, the habits that you want to change in itty bitty baby step fashion. And so the first step is identifying a generally desired objective. In this case, for this example, I said I want to look and feel better about myself. I want to strengthen my flabby abdominal muscles. It's always my stomach for me. And so that's kind of you're identifying a generally desired objective. I want to feel healthier. I want to be more patient with the kids. I want to, tell my wife every day or my husband every day that how I appreciate them. These things that improve our life. You do these things steadily over time, you know that you're going to have a better outcome in that area of your life.
That's right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah. And so I like the idea of that general desired objective. So you're not really trying to solve the problem right there with all of the nuances to it. And so, yeah, so I say, yeah, I want to look and feel better about myself. I want to strengthen, my abdominal muscles and so on. And
Right.
then now, after we have that, then we go a little bit deeper,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
So step number 2 in this is a highly leveraged action. So something you don't want to beat around the bushes of something. If you're going to change your habits, make it something that actually gives you bang for your buck. Give some time to think about what is a highly leveraged action that will give you that more of that outcome than some other action. So in my case, in this example, do plank exercises to strengthen abdominals. The leverage in that is plank strengthen my abs faster and better than sit-ups do. It makes it has also the additional thing from a leverage standpoint. It also makes me then want to eat better. Because, you get an extra little bang for your buck there because it's like, well, I did that and I'm starting to see some definition. I don't want to ruin it with brownies, right? It gives you just doing that one thing. It doesn't have to be a big thing. You don't have to go and work out for 60 minutes for better abs, right? You just, what's one little step that you can take in the right direction that has the potential of giving you leverage, giving you momentum in this thing that you want to accomplish. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, what I like about that is that now we're getting to a little bit more detail, but
Mm-hmm.
we're still not giving it the absolute value of time or
Specificity.
exactly what the step is. Yeah, it's the
Yep.
specificity, right? So here
Yes.
we now, and I like that process because it helps the brain to lock in. Because
Right.
if you just say, okay, I'm going to do 10 minutes of a plank every day, and you jump right into it without establishing first of all reason why, you're going to be within 2 days, like you said earlier, you'll be completely off track.
And
So
this is the
yes.
thing with habits, and Kaizen is the process of doing things in really a small increment, uh, so that you don't, that resistance again that we talk about, sliding
Right.
under the radar of your own resistance. You're not blowing that up and going, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go. I know if I do 100 sit-ups or 200 sit-ups, this is going to blow you out of your comfort zone. I'm coming from a beer gut, and I'm going to not Mike. I don't have that. Um, that you're going to go from that to doing 200 sit-ups is
Right.
absurd. It's
Yep.
it's it's the setup for failure, and your mind is going to resist that because it's just too big of a jump. We want small. We want to start small, slide under the radar of our own resistance, so that we can get in there and start making inroads into creating a habit. And everything I've read on anything about habit creation is always establishing the habit is far more important than the duration of whatever it is that you choose. Getting that habit nailed down, whether it's first thing in the morning, you're going to put on your tennis shoes to go for a run and not even go run. The habit of creating that habit, that mental neural network of every day. Now I slide out of bed and I put on my, I throw on my clothes that I laid out at the end of the bed and I put on my running shoes, is far more important than you go out and run 10 miles, because this will serve you, because now we're using our biology to game ourselves, right? It's
Yeah.
not working against us. We're starting to have it work for us. That it's like, oh, I slip out of bed and put on the clothes, and you're oblivious to do it. Now it's the habit.
It works every time. It works every single time.
Yeah. And so then in step 3, we do get to that specificity. What's
Mhm.
the smallest measurable version of the action you can take and stick with over time? What we were just talking about, that habit gets instituted. 10 seconds of a basic plank exercise. Right now, I broke my wrist snowboarding this last winter. And it is literally, I crawl out. My only action is to crawl out on the edge of my little ottoman out in the living room for 20 seconds so that I'm strengthening my wrists and getting flexibility back in them. 20 seconds. If I slide onto the floor and do a plank after it, that's a bonus round. But it's just establishing that habit of I get up and I do this. I finish the dishes and I go take a walk in the neighborhood. Whatever that is, whatever that follow-on behavior is, because like I said, there's first the cue, you get out of bed and do X. You get out of the shower and you do Y. You come home from work and you do Z.
Right.
That's what you want to do. You need that cue to set it off. And we'll get to that here in the next couple of steps. But what's that smallest measurable version of the action you can take and stick with over time that will not send up radar on you that, oh my gosh, I can't do it. This morning I got a meeting. I can't do that. 10 seconds, anybody can do. Whatever that smallest increment it is. And I want to say, once you get started on a habit, if you find yourself resisting it, you haven't made it small enough. Just a fact. If there's any resistance, you haven't made that action small enough to first institute the habit and then build it from there.
That's right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
the next two things, this is steps 4 and 5. And so I've used an example of a morning routine here, is the first thing you want to do is you want to write down the sequence in which things happen for you and leave spaces between it. That's the 2 steps. Write down what you do at that time of day where you think, oh, I'm going to put in my daily run. It's going to be after work. Well, then what's the evening routine? I get home from work, I pull in the driveway, I walk in the door, I throw the keys down, I walk to the refrigerator, I drink orange juice. So what is the thing that you do? And in this case, my morning routine is I wake up, I get out of bed, I take a shower, I feed the dog, I let the dog outside, and you're going to see where things fit in. And then I dry my hair. And then you see I left all these spaces in here after each of these. Where's the logical place for me to put this in there? In my case, it's, you think it through in your head. It's like, does it make any sense to do this action, this plank right when I wake up? It's possible. When I get out of bed, you wake up, well, I'm still in bed, probably not there. Okay, get out of bed. Can I drop out of bed and onto the floor, or does that not feel quite right? Do I not want to, do I want to take a shower and then get maybe sweaty again as this progresses in my life? No, maybe that's not a good idea, or maybe it is, or maybe I don't normally take a shower. Maybe that's only occasionally. I always feed the dog and I always let the dog outside. And there's some time in there. After I let the dog outside, he's out there for, 3, 4, 5 minutes. And it's not enough time for me to get anything else done, right?
Yes.
It's not enough time for me to get breakfast out or anything else. He's out there for 3 or 4, 5 minutes. That's it. So, hey, this might be a good place. And then dry my hair. So you want to be very deliberate about this setting out. If it's left to chance, we know what happens. Nothing. Absolutely nothing happens when we leave things to chance. This tells you this is the appropriate place. I think, you're a thinking person. What's the appropriate place? No, it's not going to work for me here because of this. It's not going to work for me here because of this. But here, okay. And you can see here's my trigger. Here's my cue.
That is really good. And
the dog goes out the door. I come to the carpet and I drop to the floor with my, and do the plank.
Wow. That is really, that just feels right. I mean, just the way you described it, it feels like going in with this kind of approach to planning, that it allows us to really find the appropriate time so that we can actually follow through on a ongoing basis.
And be successful, not just on a wing and a prayer, because we know that won't happen. We know those things won't happen. It's like, because from a biology standpoint, you're using bandwidth, you're using brain chemicals and brain power, great at the beginning of the day. We have a lot more. We've presumably slept and we have more reserves of chemicals, brain chemicals, to have motivation, to hold our feet to the fire in that. But if there's any of these habits that have to come later in the day, you might as well forget it. You have nothing left after you've fielded 100 phone calls at work and an angry boss and children clamoring for your attention, whatever it is, there's nothing left for you to have willpower. It's a very short reserve. And so this is being very intentional. If it matters, if you want the outcome at the end of consistently doing a behavior that will actually accumulate into some change in your significant change in your life. You know, if you tell your spouse every day, I love you and thank you for this thing, this way that you contribute to my life, do you think that won't improve your marriage or your relationship with your kids? You did that so well. I really appreciate how you handle that. And if you're looking for that, to institute that into your life, it will change the outcome of relationships. Anything
Yeah.
is possible with this.
That's right. And just to really identify, it's such a huge, big, wide scope where this works in. Talking with a client today, and we were just talking about a group of teachers that really they had given up with the students. They just said, you know, this was a PE class, and it says, you know, the kids are not interested in anything but soccer and basketball. And so when we have hockey season, when we have other sports like that, they don't want to participate. And we don't know what else to do. We've tried, you know, they made through a list of 5, 6, 7 different ways, 7 different things. And so what we end up doing is making them walk. So they and when the weather is good, we let them walk outside. And and you know, that became the thing that they're playing in their head.
Yeah.
One of them that I was there, you know, that I was talking with had been there for 6 years, 7 years. The other one had been there but a few years longer than that. And
Wow.
yeah, and
This
the
has
whole
been going on for that long.
yes, yes, and so this habit, this routine has already been established.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that when we did the analysis on that behavior cycle, we identified that those teachers had not yet really built a relationship with those students where the teacher would be a bit vulnerable.
Yeah.
And just that. So when I encounter this problem and the students don't want to walk, they don't want to play the game and they have to walk instead.
Yeah.
What do I do that's different than I've done before?
Right.
Right? Yeah, what do I
Right.
do that's different? Because now if I
What's
tell
my
them a
habit of
story about,
character?
yeah, if I tell them a story about myself and how, you know, even like my story, you know, how things ended up because I didn't do the thing I should be doing. And because those kids are forming habits that are not healthy either.
Right.
And so as a result of that, we must find that trigger. So in this case, you know, with the students, it would be, hey, wait a minute. When a student says, I don't want to play hockey,
Yeah.
that's
When
the
you're met
trigger.
with resistance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's a trigger. Let me try a different approach. And that can become
Yes.
a habit that is a
Yes.
lifelong habit
Right.
instead of cowering, instead
Mm-hmm.
of running away, we turn
Yep.
on that little trigger, that little switch, and then we say, oh, let me see what else can I do? And I've been so
Right.
successful with that, just doubling down when things are getting rough in a meeting and so on. And I say, wait a minute, I'm going to find a solution here within the next 30 seconds. And
Yeah.
I just go into a zone and almost invariably
Yeah.
right there.
And it's being intentional about the outcome that you're looking for. It's
Absolutely.
deliberately, intentionally, methodically planning for it instead of life's events owning you.
Right. That's right. You
Yeah.
take ownership, take control.
Yes,
Know that
exactly.
you can change the outcome. Now, you know, if somebody has a gun to your head or something and they're going to fire it anyway, I mean, you know, we can't control the program,
That, but
right?
most everything else,
But
right?
most everything.
Exactly. And so to continue this, decide where it would be easiest to insert the new action into your existing routine. And you saw me do that down here. You
Yeah.
already saw kind of the punchline on that.
Yes.
This is the easiest place for me. That's the earliest, that's the trigger for me for that. And then step 7, this is another, it's a very purposeful thing. Figure out how much extra time that new action requires. It takes
Mm.
time. So in my case, between getting out my phone, opening up the clock
Mm.
app, getting down on the floor, starting the timer on my phone, doing my 10 seconds of plank, stopping the timer, getting back up
Mm.
again, giving I need 5 extra minutes in my day. Okay, you're putting a measurement to it. You're being intentional about this again. So it's like, okay, some things, a girlfriend of mine just this weekend, her son, he's lost, I forget what it was, 40 or 50 pounds. And he did the exact same thing. 1 mile a day. He runs 1 mile a day. It takes him 6 or 7 minutes. He's young.
Yeah, right.
And it only takes him that many minutes a day. And because he instituted this one habit, that's a significant change. Think of the health ramifications of losing 40 or 50 pounds.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
enormous. But in his case, it's going to take more. It's not 5 minutes. He's got to somehow plan for, by the time he puts the clothes on and gets out the door, locks the door, makes his loop, comes back in, and even maybe needs to take a shower. What is all of that? What's the extra time required for that? So you're not getting yourself into a situation where you're up against a time constraint. Like I said earlier, I've got a meeting this morning. I'm running late. I can't possibly get my plank in. It's 10 seconds. You know what you're planning for. You know what the constraint of that is. And you're planning for that because in the next step, here we go for the next step, figure out how you're going to accommodate that extra time requirement. Again, I'm saying very deliberate here. I'll just set the alarm for 5 minutes earlier, have 15 extra minutes. I still have 15. This is when I was going to a job. I had 15 extra minutes of slush in my schedule anyway, but okay, set the alarm for that 5 minutes anyway. So you still retain your 15 minutes of slush for when, the dog gets sick and you got to clean that up or, whatever life throws at you. Right. So that so you don't have to adjust anything. I usually wait for the dog while he's outside anyway. So I'll do the plank while I wait for him. No extra real time is needed for that, but it's like you're still accounting for it. You're thinking about it intentionally. Where does this fit reliably into my life?
You're really creating space here for the thing that's really important to you. And so many people look at those 10 seconds and don't really calculate. They look at the 5 minutes for the activity, but don't factor in the extra time that's needed before and after to be able to budget appropriately the amount of time that they actually need. So they do end up running late for something or not being able, yes, I mean, even this morning, I did my routine and I said, well, okay, I need to take a shower. Well, then I had to get my fresh clothes, and then you have to be sure you had the clothes in a position that you could, come out of the shower and get them on quickly and put them in place. All of those things take extra time that need to be budgeted. And fortunately, the highways were clear and I wasn't late, but I was close. It was a close call.
And you're wanting to game this in your favor out of the gate in the planning. It's like other things that I say. Every minute you spend in planning actually nets you the results that you're looking for.
Ooh, that's awesome. That's something to write down. Yeah. Every minute that you spend in planning. What was the rest of that?
Puts it in your favor of getting the outcome that you're intending.
Man, you get the results. And especially when we're building a habit, it's even more important that we actually factor that in and realize that the power is in the planning. The power is in the mental training that you're going through. And that allows the execution to actually happen the way we want. And then we get the outcome that we are looking for.
Yes. Because how frustrating, Michael, to spend 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks gutting out a habit and then having it fall apart in the end anyway. And then we're less likely the next time because then we've also got now the overlay of I'm a failure whenever I do these things. I can't get myself to change. Why bother? And then we're really, really stuck. Now we've got an additional belief layer laying on there that just hangs us up even that much more to go, how many times you failed? Why bother? Well, where's that going to get you? That's going to get you a definite outcome. It's going to get you more of the same and then usually worse. If you're not eating well, it's only going to get worse over time. It's not going to improve. And so, like I said, identify the activity preceding the new habit activity. This serves as a trigger for the new activity. And so you saw that where I had laid that out in the schedule. And then Michael will love this one a lot. Visualize doing the preceding activity followed by the new habit activity, followed by a mini celebration and having done the new activity.
Woo-hoo.
Ah, I see me letting the dog outside,
Yep.
things we talked about last week, visualizing. The Smarter Vision includes it. The Joe Dispenza work includes it. We're starting to find some real common themes here, aren't we?
Yep.
Visualize it.
Right.
Take some quiet, get into that quiet space and see yourself opening the door, hearing the creak of the door, all those sensory things that we talked about last week when you visualize, feel the mist of the rain on a rainy fall Tennessee day, morning, hear the dog's toenails clicking out through out across the deck, right? All of those things and go, okay, now imagine yourself grabbing the phone. It's, it lives on me. So, that's not far. Grab the phone, turn on the timer app, envision yourself doing those things that you do. The phone in your hand, the swiping up of the thing, the hitting the timer button, all those things, walking to the area that I'm planning on doing this plank in, right beside the dining room table, right here, getting down on the floor, feeling yourself in that position, watching the timer go, all those sensory inputs, so that when the time comes, and envision also, nice job, Renee. Hey, nice job. Envision yourself celebrating that that's one more day that you did that. It's all adding to the heap of the preponderance of a new habit and the outcome of that. Celebrate that you're getting stronger every day. Celebrate those things and continue on through getting the dog back in the house. Envision all those sensory things so that when tomorrow morning you get out of bed, you do all the things you do, you open the door for the dog and you go, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to do my playing.
Yeah.
You've already envisioned that and you've already started to establish that in your nervous system as part of that habitual behavior that you do.
That is so beautiful. And I just want to point out, the heading across the top there, I think you just passed over beyond it right now, but the very top, it says itty bitty baby steps. And
Yep.
I just want to add some value, baby habit. I
Yes,
just want to
this
add
is
some
already baby
value
habit. Yes.
because this is the planning that Renee's talking about. This is the planning that we're talking about today. This process will actually become a habit also.
A meta habit.
Yeah, exactly, right. And so if you do this a few times, maybe 2 or 3 weeks on a daily basis, some people might need that number of times. But by the time you get it done, you have this to transfer to any other habit that you want. And so now this habit becomes the habit changer habit.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
so that you can move easily from one obstacle, one problem, behavioral obstacle that you have that you're just not getting to, and you can actually solve that problem.
Exactly. And so then to finish this up, you set the timer, you do the thing. I say set a timer or something as a reminder if you want an additional cue, because early on you might miss that. Oh, the dog's going outside. Keep working on that until you have that firmly in place. And if you need an external cue like a timer on your phone, I've been known to set alarms on my phone, and I just put a little notation, time for plank. What time in the morning it's probably going to happen, that timer goes off, so that you have that extra reinforcement. Step 12, repeat daily until it becomes habitual, until you don't have to remind yourself, until it's just as natural as walking out and getting the coffee cup out of the cabinet. You can go brain dead and you're still going to throw yourself down on the floor and do your plank or whatever that thing is. Once you're to that place, you have it as a well-established routine. Now I'm going to show you where the magic is.
Woo-hoo. Let's do it.
So we want to do one. This is, again, under the radar of our resistance. Don't do too many things. Keep things small so that you actually establish habits. Once you've done one and it's firmly established, then you can start to put in other things into that, because you've already done the footwork, right? Wake up, get out of bed, take a shower. This is what it starts to look like. I come downstairs after I take a shower, I feed the dog, I let the dog outside, I weigh myself, because now I'm monitoring what my weight looks like. I'm doing the 90, I'm up to a 90-second plank and I'm adding 1 second a day to my plank. I let the dog inside. I dry my hair. That's my next trigger. I make a green smoothie. What? We're going to put a whole bunch of green veggies in us first thing in the morning and they're going to just wash over our insides and we're going to feel so good. Oh my gosh, I've already have the habits I've got in there. Now I can start to insert new ones one at a time, one at a time. Let's not be ambitious because this is how it will actually stick. So then make a green smoothie. Well, what comes next in my day? I make my lunch, what comes after that? I make my lunch, I make a healthy lunch. And I've, make a habit of making a big, salad full of all sorts of yummy, healthy goodies in there. That's the next habit you institute. And once I've made my lunch, that's the trigger for getting out my supplements. What kind of supplements do I want? Well, I'm trying to accomplish these objectives for my health. Okay, the supplements get out. Trigger, making breakfast. I take my supplements. You can see this now. You can start to see how habits, now you can interweave those habits into an established routine because our body loves routine. It wants to just keep chuffing out the same thing day after day, but now we're gaming it for our own benefit.
And so
it's not playing us, we're playing it.
Yeah, I love it. And so the point I want to make with this is that many of us are imprisoned by the routines we currently have. We're locked up in this routine that's not really doing us any good. Right? Habitual nightmare.
Yes. One that lands you with diabetes, dissolving relationships.
Arthritis, all kinds of
Yes.
stuff.
Yes.
I mean, if we're talking health, we might as well just talk about epigenetics and the fact that 90% or more of diseases, you don't have to have it. They're all caused by lifestyle, by lack of awareness of things that you're putting in your body. So be smart and realize that good habits can be put in place. But it's the same identical thing with any kind of behavior. It doesn't matter what it is. And so, yes, it's just so awesome to realize that we have this kind of mental power at our, we can't call it fingertips, right? But at our habit tips.
Yes,
whatever that is.
absolutely.
These are mental gymnastics that we can actually apply and ensure that we get the results for our lives that we want.
Truly planning. Yes, truly planning for long-term success, Michael. Yes. Long-term success, because we all know that if we put our 10% in the bank, we end up with something in 60 years or 50 years, or 40 or 30, something grows out of that. It's the tiny seed that grows into something much bigger than that. And so it's my girlfriend's son who lost that many pounds, 40 pounds, say, making just one habit shift. And it cascades into other areas of his life then. She brings out, she's an incredible baker. She brings out the baked goods and he goes, yep, thanks, but no. I ran today. And he's not going to blow what he did earlier in the day on that. And so it's amazing how also those habits will spiral. They'll inform even, it's the kind of the bifurcation point. You start out with a little change here down here, and as it extends over time, more and more changes come as a result of that. And so, what will he be doing next year? Heaven only knows. Bodybuilding, who knows? Running 5 miles, who knows? But good habits tend to engender even more good habits. And this is the on the ground part where you change your life to make it the most epic life you want to make for yourself by whatever lights you up.
Wow. Thank you for these reminders, Renee. This is really awesome. And that you have taken material from the research and put your own format to it is just amazing. So now anyone with this template that you have here, they can actually acquire that just by sending you a message, and then you will have that available to them so they can follow. And I'm sure if you send them a message if they send you a message to explain something, that you'll be happy to respond to them in a couple of days or so, just to get them the answers that they have, because this is so important. And we're all about, both Renee and myself are just all about life transformation, life optimization, mind optimization. All right. We're wanting to optimize your mind and this habit, this question, are you a habitual nightmare? That is a very important question, and you've got to be the one to answer that because there's no one else that can answer that but you, because you know those things that are lurking in your nightmare repertoire. Okay.
Absolutely, we all
Right?
do, and we all have them.
Now you know those things, and if you don't change, if you don't take control and make the changes that need to be made, then you're going to end up with the result that you don't want. So I
Amen.
encourage you, get on this, try this out, work with it, test it out. What would you recommend, Renee, for the length of time for this
Oh,
simple routine to get it
first
started?
time, maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's not very complicated, and after that, you could probably chuff it out in 15. The
Mhm.
first go round or two, take you,
Right.
half hour to figure it out. But the rewards are a changed life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so, I mean, just to wrap this up, I just want to let everybody know that I no longer have diabetes. Uh,
Yes, I meant to ask you. Thank you for sharing. Go ahead,
yeah,
Michael.
I no
Thank
longer
you.
have diabetes. I changed my habits. I really not even interested in orange juice anymore. It doesn't even taste right, except unless it's freshly squeezed, and I'm using that as a therapy of sorts to clear out the lymphatic system or something. But yes, honestly, just a small amount, 8 ounces at a time, nothing more than that. Drink distilled water, added some minerals to that, and that keeps the body optimized for energy and increases the defenses in the microbiome. It's just kind of an amazing thing to realize that I'm now, after coming all the way going that direction, I am now diabetes free.
For how long?
At high blood pressure for a period of time, that's gone too, right? And it's all because of new habits that I've been able to apply. And now I'm essentially 90, I want to say 95% raw foods,
Yeah.
having
And
smoothies.
how long have you been diabetes free?
This is now 12 years,
Yeah, I was going to say 11, 12, yeah, years
a little bit
since
over
then.
12
And
years.
then I want to also give you all a little hint at, and then the man went and wrote a book about his experience, and now he's helping other people eliminate diabetes naturally. And the stories that just keep coming through last week on our celebration, there was a whole family that hasn't been impacted. So you have no idea where your gifts will take you if you just explore them, if you just go and change these underlying habits and become the person that you were meant to be and express those gifts out into the world, because then you're a blessing to everyone around you.
Fantastic. So send us a message. This is Renee
Oh,
Troutman Hexfield on um, Facebook.
yep.
I, Michael Dale Campbell on Facebook. Send us a message if you have any questions, need any help, need a little touch on sprucing up your new habits. And I definitely would love to be able to connect with you and just provide any help that we can. And look
Thank you.
next week. I'm going to venture something.
Okay.
Can I? Maybe I shouldn't promise it, but
Okay.
but this is so incredible because sometimes we don't want to just change something for ourselves. Sometimes we want to change something in our families. Sometimes
Okay.
we want to involve other people. Sometimes we have a small business and things are going okay, but they could go a lot better with the people that are working for you or with you. And I had a wonderful experience today of being able to share with a client the 3 laws of performance.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And how powerful that is, especially the things that we don't say. They are actually the things that many times are working against us. And
Yes.
things as we communicate with people in our lives, sometimes those missing words, the things that we're thinking and not saying, are the things that are controlling the relationship, controlling the behavior. And we will discuss how to eliminate those.
And Michael, can we also talk about the default future? Because this ties
Oh,
into the habit.
oh yeah, that's right. The default future.
The
So
default future.
yeah,
You keep with
everything's
the
a
habits
habit.
you have, you're going to have a default future. I would love if you would include that in there, because it'll be a perfect tie into this week's call.
Absolutely. We'll start off with the default future. and
Okay.
that the springboard for
Uh,
how to apply
Perfect.
three laws of performance, just so that you can get a group, a family, a small business, even a big business. I mean, you were talking huge businesses that have used this, from Nike to Hewlett Packard to
Yeah.
the Lonmin mines in South Africa,
Yes.
where just these simple three principles, three laws of performance were applied to bring huge 180-degree change in a relatively short period of time. And so we
Yes.
are also able to help organizations apply these principles, and also families. So next week, let's look out default future.
Perfect. I love it. Thank you, Michael. And if you want to look us up on People Living by Purpose instead, that would be great. We're there too. And this video will be up later tonight.
Fantastic.
Thanks
Have
for
a good week,
joining us.
everybody. Thank you.